Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Big Rostermania yesterday in and outside of Call of Duty League Esports, but after a top 6 placing at Major 1, Seattle Surge are looking to make a roster change it seems going forwards, but rumour has it according to Zuma, Arcitys will not be going anywhere. What is Rambo cooking on this roster right now? What are they planning to do over the coming days? Very much into your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. We have to address this as well because no doubt the biggest sporting story of the year so far, possibly it will be the biggest sporting story of the year to be honest. Lewis Hamilton joining Ferrari. If you guys don't know, I've got another channel talking about Formula 1, so this is absolutely mind-blowing stuff to me. People are trying to find comparisons, really, to other sports. I guess we'll try it for Call of Duty. The only one that is anywhere close to making sense would be Scump to FaZe, but it's like, as if FaZe was what OpTic are, you know? It's the biggest player, leaving the team they've won lots with over the last several years, and basically, you know, made their career at Mercedes and maybe OpTic respectively, but leaving to join Ferrari, which is, in this example, FaZe, but like, it's almost as if FaZe's brand is OpTic's and OpTic's brand is FaZe in terms of relative size. Like, that's how massive a magnitude this is. That let's say Scump in roughly 2019 was to leave OpTic to go to, you know, FaZe, but actually FaZe had more fans than OpTic. So, like, that's just kind of how insane that whole story is. But there's plenty else to dive into here because TSM as well. Now, I'm not going to lie. We've heard TSM linked to a return to COD for actually years at this point. There was even rumours a good couple of years ago when the whole talk about expansion in franchising, you remember when we used to have talks about expansion in franchising? They quickly dried up because we realised that, yeah, that ain't happening, buddy. But TSM were actually often talked about in those conversations, and they've mentioned in a recent, I guess this is some sort of Reddit thing, I guess, where they'd said that actually a return to Call of Duty, they even consider Call of Duty in the Tier 1 Esport category, which I thought was kind of ambitious, but fair enough, we'll take it, that it's a potential community TSM would like to return into. There's no organisation, they're probably not in an ideal spot after the whole FTX thing, I imagine. But nonetheless, a TSM return to COD could be on the cards as and when the current state of the league changes, as more than likely it will in the relatively near future. Also, we have new 6v6 maps. These are the overviews. This is Das House actually returning again to this game, but so that's not going to be played in competitive. We do have 3 other maps though. Departures is pretty massive, I'm not going to lie. It's well, it's a cross between kind of Express and then like that, do you guys know that border crossing map with all the cars on it? That's kind of what it looks like over here on the left-hand side. But I don't know, it doesn't look terrible. I just think, well, I don't know, looking at the overview, it feels a little bit too big to be a competitive map. Maybe for Search and Destroy it could work, though. But these other maps, okay, Stash House does look tiny, I'm not going to lie. I mean, the mini-map overview makes it look ridiculous. It may be slightly bigger than this implies. I feel like it's going to be a little bit too small to work in competitive though, but the way that the pictures work makes me kind of, you know, optimistic in some ways. I think this map would be golden for like a 2v2 search and destroy S&D wages or whatever. Something like that, I think it could work well. It actually reminds me of this map called Extraction from CSGO, which is like a wingman map, a 2v2 S&D map. Reminds me a fair bit of that actually. But I think for 4v4 competitive, this might be a bit on the small side. This is the map that I'm most excited for by a mile actually, which is Vista. This looks really nice. The overviews look really nice. Reminds me a lot of, well, some Black Ops 4 maps, really. If you looked at this overview and told me it was something like Black Ops 4 or something like that, I'd believe you in a heartbeat, really. So, yeah, I actually really like the look of this, the way the lanes seem to work, the 3-lane design, the connectors. I don't know. I think Vista is the one that I'm definitely looking for because, I don't know, looking at the overview, I feel like that could be a really promising map, and we are seeing with Rio today, pretty much, that is definitely a promising map. So Rio came into the game a little while ago, and it's a solid map for sure. It's basically designs on Treyarch maps. Apparently, Sledgehammer developers literally looked at some of the best competitive maps ever, and they took pieces from here, pieces from there to try and form their own version of great competitive maps, which is an absolutely viable and good way to do it, right? Because we have seen some terrible maps over the last few years, and, you know, there's only so many great map formats, I suppose. So taking some ideas from other maps, it makes a lot of sense. This was a scrim yesterday between the Ravens and well, Wiz and Gio and the guys. Now, Gio eventually left this team, actually, to go and join FaZe Black later in the day. And that is because one of the FaZe Black guys is gone, and we'll discuss where he might go potentially here in a couple of seconds. But as we can see, this is a bit of a bang-out map. Gwyn dropped 39 this map, TJ had 36, Clay had 37. So it was all going on here on Rio Hardpoint, and that is the belief that this map is an absolute bang-out. That's what Gwyn actually said. Like, this map is world-class. Okay, maybe it's not world world-class, but it's a quality map and it's very entertaining to play and probably to watch as well. So let's get it in the map pool, right? That seems to be the general belief. Rio is probably going to be coming in based on the evidence we saw yesterday. The players are trying it. Thank the Lord, right? They're actually giving it a go, and the general opinion seems to be it's definitely better than some of the maps we're currently playing. Potentially Terminal Hardpoint is on its way out. There's been talk about that as well. Even Brian Saint says, you know, Rio Hardpoint for Terminal Hardpoint, let's make it happen. And, you know, Fame believes Invasion might be worse than Terminal. Brian Saint disagrees. This is also the issue with getting maps out of the map pool, which often, well, this is why it's a challenge, right? Because some teams like some maps, some teams like other maps. Getting them to decide which one should go is a challenge, but getting them to decide to just add a new one in, that might not be too much of a problem, right? And hopefully this is the case, and that's the general belief in the moment, possibly, that Rio will just be added in as an additional map. And to be honest, the more maps in the pool, the better as far as I'm concerned, because it just adds another level of, well, skill in the vetoes, I suppose. When there's more maps in the game, you're tested on more maps, and therefore, you know, banning a map doesn't make as big of a difference. You can't have two auto vetoes, right? You can only have one. So the bigger the map pool, probably the better. Is, you know, should some of the current maps go? Possibly yes, but if we can't get the pros to agree to that, then, you know, sure, let's just add Rio and play 6 maps, and then hopefully add Vista and play 7 maps. I'm down for that as well. Now, this I'm almost certain for Fellow here is rather sarcastic, because I don't think the pros are particularly happy with the new patch. Sure, Rio's in the game, but the spawn changes on the other maps, again, it's like what I said at the time. Some of the changes they made with this major overhaul were kind of change for change's sake, especially on maps like Karachi. I don't really understand why it was necessary to move anything around. So I'm pretty sure he's being sarcastic here. Definitely the replies from Arcitys seem to imply that to be the case, and Linz just says it straight up, the patch is the worst that I have ever seen. So not having a good time scrimming on it, but okay, whatever. At least Rio looks like a viable option to come back into the game. We've got to talk Rostermania though, because firstly, Real, gotta feel bad for Real, man. This guy got screwed over so bad. I find it incredible. Like, I've roasted Ravens before, and I'm sure I'll do it again in the future, but I still find it incredible how Nasty is probably going to be joining, I think he actually is going to be joining Thieves, because there are rumours yesterday that Harry is coming in to replace Nasty on that Team War roster where Nasty formerly was. So he's, I think that's a done deal basically, Nasty to Thieves in place of Cammy. That's how it presently seems. But, you know, they've got a visa to sort out, and Thieves will get it sorted. Ravens, you know, they had, how long have they had to get these visa stuff sorted? They still can't do it with Real. I don't know why. But, yeah, so now Real is back at home. TJ's in the team full time. I think Real will get another chance, but it's just tough, right? I do think he's a significantly better player than maybe what he showed so far. There's also this from the Boston Breach, we'll discuss more so in a second, that they are in talks. Now, Zed said the other day that they're not making changes, but quite often what you hear, then things change, right, behind the scenes, and I wouldn't be surprised if Slasher, after that result, was talking to the guys and saying, like, this probably isn't going to work with this SMG duo. And Capsidal, to be fair, I think he's got a lot of upside. He's been in and around, like, in and out of the league over the last couple of years, but he did make a lot of mistakes. So did Snoopy, so did the team, to be honest. But in that search and destroy, it wasn't pretty against Surge Map 5, I'm not going to lie. So Ronnie says Capsidal is possibly gone. We're not sure, though. aBeZy would be a player of interest, and it's been noted that aBeZy is now seemingly off the FaZe Black roster. So Kremp is gone, we believe, to Thieves. aBeZy, it seems, is gone as well. So he's gone somewhere. Where he's gone is a bit of a question. So Woj J Nassim comes out with his info dump yesterday on 3 teams. As I say, we kind of think we know what's going on with Thieves right now. But Nassim says, per 3 league sources, but with knowledge of team deliberations, Boston exploring a 1-player change, Capsidal likely out. But, you know, no offers out yet, but there's a ton of momentum here. And there's lots of debate to be had on whether that's a good or a bad idea. Should they stick it out further? You know, we'll discuss in more detail when the time comes. But wanted to focus on Seattle here. So he actually says some chatter here, but nothing remotely accurate. So, and also on Vegas, they're probably looking to make a change, likely for Purge, right? But the issue is with Vegas, they're probably going to move slower than the other teams. So if they are going to trade out Purge, they're probably not going to get the #1 option necessarily. And also, every single player in challenges will take the phone call with Boston, with Thieves, with Surge, with whoever, before they take the phone call with Vegas, probably. That's just how it is. So they're not going to get the pick of the bunch necessarily. But this is the situation here with the Seattle Surge. I'm not surprised they're looking to make a change. Their team, sure, they came top 6. I think they were rather lucky to get top 6. They had a map 5 win against Boston where maybe they were the better team in that series, but I mean, still, like, the Search and Destroys were what helped them. They weren't impressive in that series, I didn't think. iLLeY bailed them out insanely hard on the Carolina series when he pops that ridiculous 3-piece that he got to make the comeback on that invasion at Hardpoint. They eventually won the game 5, but arguably Surge should have been out then, and then they were out to OpTic pretty emphatically in the end. So I think that Surge, if they really want to try and be a top 4 team, because that's the goal. If you're making a change right now, your intention is, all right, FaZe, Ultra, OpTic, you'd expect New York to get back there, but, you know, these teams might see an opening, might see a vulnerability to try and be a team that can make it to Championship Sunday. Rocket just did. That, I think, is the immediate step. If you're Thieves, Surge, these type of teams, the first step is, let's make a good enough team to make Sundays. Then we can try and go one step further. So I think it makes sense that Surge are looking at a change, but if you had to weigh out what change they would make, I would say the most likely is Arcitys gone, who's probably been their weakest player so far, and some sort of SMG player in alongside Hook. That would make sense. That would resolve some of the role issues that, I mean, let's be honest, 3 ARs, it's maybe working now, but I don't think it's going to work forever. The new patch update, the rival's probably more viable. Rio is a small map, and I'm sure the rival is what's being used a lot on that one. So I think that's the move that most people would have predicted. But Zuma says it's actually an entirely different story.
Wait, Surge are sticking with Alec. I heard Surge was making a change, and it's not for Alec, folks. I don't think they're making a change for Alec, man. I don't think that's what's going on. I think they're making a change for somebody else, folks. I don't think it's Alec, guys. Alec is not what I'm. That's not what I'm. You know, that's not. I don't. You know what I mean? I don't. Guys. Was that a leak? Was that a leak? Was that a leak? Oh shit! You're just gonna have to wait and see. Seattle might not even change, chat. Seattle might not even change. I think the 2 teams that are 100% changing that I know about, chat, are LA Thieves and Boston. Those are the 2 teams.
So Zuma's sources historically maybe haven't been the best, so take it with a bit of a grain of salt. But Zuma says, yeah, Surge are looking to make a move, and obviously Nassim also said, won't say to see whatever, that similarly they're looking to make a change, or at least there was some chatter around it. Now Zuma kind of says what he's hearing on the matter. Now Arcitys actually comes out on Twitter and responds to a couple of things, which makes me think that probably this information might be somewhat accurate, just because, well, he's tweeting about it and is saying, talking about roster intel. Even like the Spawn up here tweeted this out. I think he nicked it from someone on the Reddit or something, which I thought was kind of funny. But you know, implying that, well, if Surge are making a change but not for Arcitys, then it might be Hook. And Arcitys actually responded like this, which I thought was pretty, well, funny really. And maybe Arcitys doesn't need to be responding, but you know, whatever. Maybe you read into this that Arcitys is well, if this is true or not, or whatever you want to say. But this would be surprising to me, especially because if Arcitys isn't gone and they're making a change, who do you get rid of, right? I mean, let's have a look at the stats so far this season. It's not pretty really all across the board. iLLeY has been their best player on the whole. Now, unless you think that iLLeY's going to be gone due to like out of game stuff that we discussed over the last couple of days, possibly, but I think that's relatively unlikely. But he's also kind of like the only other option that makes sense in some regards, because aBeZy has been, I think, getting better and better. His KD isn't anything spectacular, but you know, you look at the Slayer rating numbers like this, by the numbers, Arcitys has been their weakest player really, and you know, swapping him out for another SMG that can partner Hook just makes a lot of sense on paper to try and get the best out of Hook in that regard. But if you're not getting rid of Arcitys, what are you doing? Because surely aBeZy isn't going to be gone after a stage, you know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty promising rookie with seemingly quite a lot of upside. I don't really see how that makes sense. And to be fair, I will just quickly mention that Arcitys was playing ranked with aBeZy shortly after this, not that long ago. So, I don't know, would that be happening if one of them was dropped? Probably not, right? So maybe we can rule aBeZy out. And then it's like, well, why would you drop your only SMG? That's the only other option people are coming to, is like, well, is Hook gone? But if Hook's gone, it's like, why? And unless there's weird stuff behind the scenes, because I think Hook's been pretty good as well, given he's running a rival almost all the time. He's done a pretty respectable job, I think, so far this season, Hook has. And if you're dropping Hook for like another SMG, I don't really see where that upside exists, to be honest. So I'm massively confused, really, by this whole information on, firstly, if they are making a change, what's it going to be? But who else would it be? It almost makes me believe that it kind of must be iLLeY, because I just don't understand why Hook would be gone. But, you know, then again, we saw it before when Illy and, when Hook and Rambo were on the same team back in Dallas Empire in Cold War, when Hook was dropped, and it was like, well, look at the minimap type thing. At least that's what Crimsix says, and maybe Rambo was in agreement. I don't know. But a massively intriguing situation. Very much interested to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. But if somebody is gone from either of these two teams, it's probably a seam that's coming in. Like, I'm thinking a seam is somewhere between Boston or Surge right now. That would kind of make sense, wouldn't it? So either it's a seam for Capsidal, or theoretically it could be, you know, a seam for Hook maybe. Even Pentagram said it was Heart Hurt, which probably is because he's on the Boston Breach Academy, and yet again he's been snubbed to join their starting team by another SMG, possibly a seam. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.